So we're looking at what the president-elect might do moving forward. We're trying to read the tea leaves. How do you think social media is going to play a role in the upcoming world? I mean, how do you think they're going to really use Musk's platforms relative to some of the other more established ones you've seen out there?
Mhm. Yeah. Hello. Well, maybe a little context, because I know over the last 4 years, I've kind of been sitting back a little bit more and watching this all play out. And I know Musk is the person of the moment, and we're throwing around these like sophisticated terms like retail investors, but like it's really about the public sometimes. The market's trying to make sense of what's going on, and for me, the one piece that I've seen lacking in the media over the last 4 years, and especially this past year, is any critique of really the Biden administration and how they've handled not just like their leverage over social media, but even this upcoming potential TikTok ban that's looming, and now it's going to the Supreme Court. And I know you're just talking about meme stocks and also Bitcoin. Like it or not, President Trump is coming to power next year, and he has an incredible amount of leverage, ability to cut deals, not just with TikTok, but any of those competitors. So, again, circling back to Facebook, it's no surprise that, kind of late in the last election, you saw people like Mark Zuckerberg, kind of maybe, kind of cozying up a little bit more. And I think it's because we were missing that context. I know for me, it was really difficult to cut through at times and to provide that critique, but I'm not sure the markets or the public have really heard enough critique going into this. It's been really focused on Musk, and obviously he has the president's ear. Again, I know there's jokes about him being the unelected president. Of course, he's incredibly rich, and he has Twitter, but he has made that work for him. So for me, I think we just need a little bit more history and looking into, those who were in power. I think they had a lot of confidence going into this that Biden would continue, and then they passed laws like that too. So I think it's going to be actually unsettling to some of those larger social media companies. I'm not sure, again, their future is so sure, and that we should only be talking about TikTok, for example.
Yeah, Jennifer, I mean, what would Donald Trump like to do? Because on the one hand, he needs leverage with a country like China, especially if he's going to be imposing extra tariffs and so on. And this seems sort of like a, easy pickings, if you like.
It's exactly. And he's got easy pickings with Bitcoin. Do you make a reserve or don't you? Right. So he has so many levers going into this next term. Right. So I think when we think about, I was taking some notes, looking at the last section, this is not a moment of clarity. Like, we do not have confidence. We don't have certainty. And I think the markets are reacting to that more than just this Fed, announcement. Obviously, we saw a major market moment there, but I see uncertainty coming into the end of the year, not just because it's the end of the year, but because we really don't know how President Trump is going to play his cards. We just know that he has a lot in his hand.
And Jennifer, all these tech executives that are visiting Mar-a-Lago and, digging deep for their $1 million or whatever it's costing them, and these U.S. executives, I mean, in particular, what will that buy them?
Yeah. Well, that was what was interesting about the TikTok case, was that they went to extraordinary lengths to legislate, to carve out TikTok. Otherwise, it would have looked just like every other platform. Facebook would have been in the same situation. And that was kind of what I think gave TikTok comfort for a while. I think going into this legislative path was incredibly risky. It is a huge threat to freedom of information, freedom of expression. Unfortunately, again, even the expiration date was right in front of the next term. It was, I believe, just an incredibly dangerous piece of legislation to target one platform like that. It doesn't matter if it was an external, kind of foreign actor or whatever the reasoning was. It was very, very targeted, and the timing, would have given the Biden administration some leverage, not only with TikTok, but with maybe the sitting platforms. going into the last election. They could have maybe, again, struck some type of sweetheart deal with Facebook. So it's really, again, we have to look at the timing of all of that. That was passed in April last year.
Right.
March, we knew in March Trump was taking the helm at the RNC. Again, I don't like it. I don't like it.
But Professor,
yeah.
you look at how TikTok has been treated by lawmakers, and you've seen both parties really voice their concerns. At the end of the day, do you think that whether or not there is a full-on ban that is pursued in the early days of a Trump administration, or a wholesale sale of the platform, does that pressure really go away?
Well, and great point. Again, I'm just trying to sneak in just a tiny piece of critique on Biden here, because we really haven't seen it. I mean, that's been my experience in the last 4 years. I haven't seen it much in the media, but as you point out, it was like bipartisan to get that through. But that again is something that is telling. I think that on both sides of the aisle, that President Trump was a threat, and that it wasn't just Biden per se, but it was all of the incumbents. And we saw this actually way back this reminds me honestly of 2012 when we saw under the Obama administration, they instituted the modernization of what was called the Smith-Mundt Act. And, again, Trump was starting to make waves at that time, starting to maybe, put his hat in the presidential ring. And the incumbents were bipartisan. It's a little bit of a gatekeeping action from those who are currently in Congress, in the White House, saying, hey, we don't want this outsider maybe coming in, So it spoke to maybe the political climate of those who were sitting in power too, that maybe they were trying to gatekeep a little bit. But I just believe that it gave an incredible amount of leverage to any incumbent at that time.